In an average room full of people, I'd give the shit off my back to anyone who could name a single member of the one-hit wonder band Toto. Be it Gary Guitarman, Bobby Bass, or Kenny Keys. I'd even be surprised if there was anyone in the room who could take the challenge of naming more than one song that isn't
Africa.
From here on out, we're going to journey through what you already know. If you don't know, you know. Stick with it, and by the end, you'll be surprised just how much Toto you actually listen to each year. This is Hidden in Plain Sound. It would seem surprising in this day and age that Africa was actually recorded on Toto's fourth album. Back in what some would call the golden age of music, it wasn't uncommon to have truckloads of cash delivered to your private mansion while you smoked weed, took copious amounts of Quaaludes and sprinkled cocaine on your cornflakes, regardless if you were making hit albums or not. A large amount of record labels existed during this time, many with private investors that were somewhat happy to keep pumping in the money until they made it back, no matter how long it took. Fleetwood Mac's Rumours, for example, was the 11th studio album released by the band. For this to happen in today's world would be near impossible. Toto at the Africa point in time was a band who were already well seasoned. Well, that's putting it mildly. Toto was actually formed around session musicians: guitarist Steve Lukather, bassist David Hungate, drummer Jeff Porcaro, his brother Steve Porcaro on keyboards, and David Page, who I would say, along with playing the piano and keyboards, is their most prolific songwriter and arranger. But the purpose of this video isn't to explore the band Toto. There'll be enough videos out there to do that, and in fairness, they've been around as long as Star Wars has, so I won't be giving out the link to the Toto fan club anytime soon. At the risk of getting a copyright strike, I won't be able to feature any of the true music that the members of Toto featured on. When you understand the wide range of sessions, I'd probably have pretty much every major record label under the sun making sure that I wasn't going to make my 50 pence from this video. The 70s and 80s were pretty much a boys' club, a who's who of professional musicians who often worked on each other's tracks in order to keep each other relevant and afloat. Things were less saturated as they are now, and often the same names would come up time and time again. It's nothing new, but for a very, very large span of time, these go-to guys were often the boys from Toto. More often than not, an artist wouldn't need to search from coast to coast for a musician to feature on their album, as there were already so many based in the studios. Alternatively, the old adage of "it's not what you know, it's who you know," a musician would just call up one of their famous friends.
Hello, Castle Collins.
Hello, Philip. It's Eric again. Listen,
hello, Crapton. How's tricks?
Good, thank you, mate. Listen, do you have any bass players that I could lend off you for £1 or less?
You know what? I actually do. But it's going to cost you writing and producing and drumming credit on your album.
True Stories with Philip Collins, held at Mullet Point, this Thursday on ABC. So, we've already forgotten this guy's name, right? Well, it's Jeff Porcaro. He played drums for Joe Cocker along with his Toto bandmate David Page, who played keys. They both played for Boz Scaggs along with David Hungate on bass guitar. Jackson Browne's The Pretender interestingly featured both Jeff and David, along with Lee Sklar on bass, who would eventually go on to play for Toto. Side note, the album also featured Roy Bittan, who famously played piano on Meat Loaf's Bat Out of Hell and Springsteen's Born to Run.
You can't ever have, they got you point blank.
The guys moved on to Leo Sayer, playing on a number of albums. Jeff Porcaro is busy at this time working with Lee Sklar again on Beauty on a Backstreet by Hall & Oates. Wait, that's not actually Lee Sklar, that's a homeless man. Yeah. Amazingly, Jeff Porcaro pops up in 1977 on, in my mind, one of the greatest James Bond themes ever produced. Nobody Does It Better by Carly Simon. Steve Lukather, after playing guitar for Diana Ross, pops up in the Boz Scaggs posse. Things begin to pick up momentum. Toto are a thing, they have a debut album, but the sessions don't stop. Critically acclaimed and all-round revered and respected classic, Physical by Olivia Newton-John features Steve Lukather and David Hungate.
Took you to an intimate restaurant, then to a suggested movie. There's nothing left to talk about, less is horizontally. Let's get physical, physical. I wanna get physical. Let's get into physical.
I mean, where could they go from there? Surely they'd reach the top. Not wanting to miss out on any of the Leo Sayer monster hits, Lukather joins in on the sessions for the next album, along with Ray Parker Jr. on guitar. Up pops Greg Phillinganes on keyboards and Bobby Kimball on backing vocals. Greg being another go-to keys man and Bobby Kimball being Toto's most notable mustachioed lead singer. The guys continue to make a huge name for themselves within the industry, raking in work for anybody and everybody. David Hungate decides to quit Toto in 1982. He gets replaced with yet another Porcaro brother, Mike, so obviously he starts sucking at the session teat and gets right into the action. Nathan East starts popping up. Playing bass on a number of the same sessions as the Toto guys, eventually joining Toto for a number of tours. Clapton, Gilmour, Pink Floyd, Neil Diamond, Paul McCartney, Joe Walsh, Lionel Richie, Paul Simon, Michael McDonald, Elton John, Donna Summer, Randy Crawford, The Bee Gees, Nick Kershaw, Cher, Alice Cooper, Don Henley, Stevie Nicks. When you start digging, it's pretty much never ending. The names don't stop. And that's when we get to the king of pop himself, Randy Newman.
Pooping with my pants on.
Obviously not. Michael Jackson. Michael wouldn't have been Michael Jackson without Quincy Jones, and to an extent, Toto. Don't at me, it's true. Yes, he was an icon of pop music, a pioneer, but all you have to do is listen to any of his demos to realise the tools that he was clearly missing. Quincy Jones was no stranger to the Toto Session guys. Steve Lukather had been working with him since he was 22, 23. They were an obvious fit for working with such a demanding regime. So Steve Porcaro and Greg Phillinganes work on a couple of tracks on Off the Wall, but it's no surprise that the better record to talk about would be Thriller. So ignoring the Eagles' greatest hits, as calling a greatest hits the best-selling album of all time is about as dumb as saying the biggest country in the world is Europe. Michael Jackson's Thriller is the biggest selling album of all time. There isn't a single track on that album that doesn't feature a member of Toto, past or present. Lukather gets a call letting him know that the first track they're going to cut is with Paul McCartney.
Paul, I don't like you swearing. Can you change the words to something else?
Well, no, as far as I'm concerned, it's just words.
You're making
You
me
know, the
sad.
motherfucking girl is mine. It tells the passion of the story.
The doggone girl is
We're looking at each
And
other.
we fell out on the floor, man. We're like going, come on, is this a joke?
guys were not only session musicians at this stage. Writing and arranging credits became more common. The song Human Nature was written by Toto's keyboard player Steve Porcaro. He wrote this when his daughter was having a hard time with a boy at school being mean to her. She repeatedly asked the father, why? And he simply told her that it was human nature. The rest is history. I mean, you can find a demo of this with a quick search on YouTube. The studio wanted Eddie Van Halen for the guitar solo on Beat It. Eddie was by no means a session player. All Eddie plays is the solo. The rest of the guitars, the bass, the drums, the keys, the synths, all Toto. There's 4 members of the band on that track. The song Thriller itself wasn't even written by Michael Jackson. Rod Temperton. Not a single credit to Michael Jackson's name, and it's arguably one of the most well-known songs. But what did Michael actually do other than dance and sing to it? On that merit, as much credit should probably go to Vincent Price.
Darkness falls across the land. The midnight hour is close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood.
Objectively, what's the greatest album of all time really a Toto album? A Quincy Jones-led masterpiece. In various incarnations, Team Toto continued to work with Michael over the coming years. Nathan East literally jumped onto the bandwagon, playing on a couple of tracks. The rest of the guys seemed to wrap up working with Michael after the History Sessions. So, Toto. A bit of a revolving door really. A great band in their own right to those who enjoy them, but evidently so much more. If you follow the lesser members of Toto, Lee Sklar, Nathan East, Greg Phillinganes, or make connections between members not even mentioned with other artists who are, you'll find yourself in a greatest hits cornucopia that's seemingly never ending. Feel free to comment, subscribe and hit that like button. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. This has been Hidden in Plain Sound. Thank you for watching.